Oh, okay.
Do what?
I was just wondering.
Authorization for amendment. Is anybody here?
Yeah, Terry's here.
Oh, okay. I'll put it in his file.
Good evening, council. I'm here tonight representing Parks and Recreation. We're requesting this honorable body to approve an amendment to a current contract with Trinity Bus Transportation. Just to bring it back to you a little bit, in June of 2017, you approved a contract with Trinity Bus Transportation for our day camp programs. We take field trips weekly through the summertime with the day camp, but we neglected to add the spring break and the winter break camps to that contract. So I'm here tonight requesting that we amend that contract to include both spring and winter break. We'll have them in February and again in April. And then we also, in that approval of that contract, we also had the ability or option to renew for 2018. So tonight I'm requesting that we amend the contract to include spring break and winter break camps within this contract with Trinity.
Council?
You want a motion on this, we're just going to put it on the consent agenda? What? I'm moving to the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. That's
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Second annual Child Manhood Symposium.
Deputy Administrator Greenland will address this item. Thank you. So actually, we have representatives from the organization sponsoring this who'd like to speak about this. This will be held in March in the pavilion and various other parks and recreation facilities. This is the second annual. The first annual was a huge success. It was great for the students, great for all participants, great for the city. We look good in the press in regards to this. So Glenn, if you have some of the other people sponsoring you step up and fill council with it, that'd be great. We actually have some of the participants from previous presentations that speak about it a little bit as well.
Thanks, John. Good evening, council, staff members.
Mr. Early, before you, we're gonna hold this presentation to 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Done. All right.
All right.
So again, thanks to allowing us to come before this honorable body this evening. This year, we'd like to present the 2018 Youth Symposium, scheduled to take place on March 27th in the pavilion and meeting rooms, as well as one of the major rooms in the field zone, thanks to Linda Neighbors. Today we have Jason Solomon, who's one of the assistant principals at Southfield A&T. He's also one of the one of the advisors for Project Manhood over at Southfield A&T. And we also have Mr. Malachi Hampton. He's also one of the advisors for Project Manhood. It is Project Manhood who brings forth the idea of having this youth symposium with the city support. I'll have them do the presentation, and then we'll also talk about the asks that we have this evening. Mr. Simon.
I just want to start off with a thank you. I know last year we came and put in a request to have our youth symposium in the pavilion here. Again, just like we said previously, I thought it went very well. These young men are here to kind of today to talk about some of the experiences that they had and the impact that this youth symposium has. And I guess I'll come back toward the end and kind of talk about some of the requests that we're making this year to make sure that we have another successful youth symposium. So we'll start off with David Wilson. He's the president of our Project Manhood Youth Symposium. I'm sorry, Project Manhood organization. I'm gonna let him talk for a second about leadership.
How's everybody doing? Really, the symposium threw everybody. Really, the symposium put everybody in Project Manhood into a leadership role, introducing speakers, business owners and such. I got to introduce Mr. Lopez, the superintendent for the school board. He had a workshop about stereotypes, and it was real hands-on with other students, and I think everybody learned from it. So that was really the main part. Got to connect with somebody that is the superintendent of school board that controls my education.
Next, we have Deshaun Meeks, another member of Project Manhood. He participated last year's symposium.
Hi everyone, I'm here to talk about the experience, as Mr. Solomon said. So, my experience, I liked it because it was more involved, and it taught you a lot about sticking together, you know, not just African American men, but all men. So, I really learned a lot from that. Everybody had fun because everybody was standing up, put paper on the wall, writing on it, writing ideas and stuff like that. It was just a very learning experience, and I really liked it.
All right, we also brought Irvin, who's one of our members of our robotics team at Southfield A&T. He is the president of the robotics team. He joined Project Manhood this year. Just kind of wanted to be involved with some of the things going on in the leadership role, so I'll let him talk a little bit more about the workshop.
All right, so I'm gonna start off during the summer. So I started off the summer. We learned about law enforcement, talked about healthy eating, and like personal stuff like that. They also brought the college fair, and it gave us opportunities to get jobs around the city. And coming up, we have a youth symposium. Yeah. So basically, we're gonna talk about how we're gonna like work together as young men and build each other up.
All right, then we got Mr. Hampton's going to talk about some of the feedback. We had surrounding schools in Oakland County participate in this as well. I thought it was a good idea to have him here in Southfield, and a lot of people came here and saw what the city had to offer. So Mr. Hampton.
Hello, Malachi Hampton. I'm a teacher at Southfield A&T. I'm also one of the founding members of Project Manhood. I'd like to thank the council last year for approving us at the symposium, and Joanne Gurley and Terry, just everyone at the city was so gracious and helpful. It was an amazing event. We got a lot of positive feedback from principals. We had over, 19 schools that attended from Oakland and Wayne County. We had over 500, it was 502 student participants and over 48 adult participants. We talked about law enforcement, how young people should engage law enforcement. That was a great workshop. Vocational versus college. A lot of kids enjoyed that one. We had a Detroit Recovery Project came out and did a workshop on substance abuse. And the kids loved that. But we just got a lot of positive feedback. So when we got back to the school, maybe a couple days later, I got emails from principals thanking us for inviting them. They really look forward to having, make sure you invite us to next year's event. I just wanted to say that a lot of the surrounding areas really enjoyed that we had this event in Southfield. We really got this idea from going down to Akron, Ohio, and we felt, when we stood before you last year, we felt like, why should we go down in Ohio when we can have it right here in the center of it all, Southfield? So, thank you.
So just to recap, the symposium took place last February. We had over 550 participants. City Council approved all of our asks, and those asks included Terry Fields allowing us to take over Parks and Rec pretty much for a day. The Southfield Police Chief providing security and being a speaker. Fred approving expenditures. We've had Chief Menifee help us, the cable department, code enforcement. It was ELE Wealth Management, which is a local business here in Southfield. They actually closed their facility to send all their employees to help us. So we had such an outpouring of support, and we're kind of looking for that again this year. So we would ask council if you would approve the date, first of all, which is March 27th, a Wednesday. It will take place from 8 a.m. to approximately 2 p.m. We would like the support that we've gotten from Terry, which has been 100%. Every time we ask Terry for something, Terry Fields gives it to us. Jonathan Brown has helped us with all of the planning and making sure all of our rooms are set up. We would also like for the Southfield Police Department to provide the security and possibly participate in some of the seminars that we're holding. Mayor Siver also worked with us because this is an initiative under Mayor Siver. Councilman Frazier and Councilman Lloyd Cruz, they were also participants in last year's program. Emergency management, code enforcement. Emergency management helped us with getting the kids in and out of the building. Code enforcement directed traffic. City Cable 15 provided all of the audio, visual, technical support for all of the rooms. So we're looking for that as well. The technology department provided speakers and laptops for our speakers. We had support from Meyer. Lions players came out to help us, the fraternities and sororities. So we had a great showing, and we expect to have that type of support again this year to provide our young men with any and all support that we can provide to them so that they can be successful leaders and give back to the community, which they've done. They've participated with My Brother's Keeper throughout the summer and have been very helpful. So with that said, we'd like to see if council would be willing to support us in this effort again this year.
If no comments from council or questions, just we move to the consent agenda.
Just one question. I think this is a great program. I know they were successful last year. And I asked this question previously. Do we know what the approximate cost to the city is? For renting things, chairs, for having extra police officers. Do we know?
We've estimated that to be just under $3,000.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one quick question.
Go ahead.
Did you reach out to the veterans at all? Because I know that they like volunteering work with youth a lot.
Last year we did not. That's something that we can certainly do.
Mr. Cruz?
Yeah, I just want to know, just as was mentioned, I was there last year. The program turned out wonderful. Definitely need to continue to support it. I was actually I thought about you guys recently because of the keynote speaker we had, a young man that was wrongfully arrested for a murder that he didn't commit, was recently exonerated and is actually free now. I thought it was pretty interesting that they got to hear it. They went into his story. What he said that the legal system will ultimately work in his favor and so forth. But him and all the other speakers presented the program for us, plus for all of us.
Yeah, this is definitely a good program. Everything I've heard and everything we've heard tonight is positive, and that's a very wonderful thing for the city of Southfield when everything is positive with respect to this. Okay, it'll be on the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, support.
Item number 3, request for non-towable city-owned lots for sale.
Mr. Deputy Administrator, we bring him on this item.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. This is in no way as exciting as the previous presentation. This is simply an opportunity to clean up 9 parcels that the city owns. These are non-buildable parcels of no value to anyone but an adjacent property owner. We've acquired them mostly through the tax reversion process. And what we'd like to do is just get these off our books so we can sell them. That would be wonderful. Frankly, it may be difficult to sell because right now some of the owners are using these as if they're their property, so they're not paying taxes on it. But maybe once they realize that it may be offered to their neighbor as well as them, that they may want to step up and purchase it to make sure they have it. Or once they realize that the city may re-examine alternate uses for that property, like a small park, they may decide they'd like to purchase it. But regardless, these are parcels that, it's not so much about the revenue from selling it. It's not so much about the addition to the tax rolls. That's going to be minuscule. but we'd like to get these off our books as property we own, mostly because of premises liability. These are properties that we're really not maintaining, usually the adjacent property owners are, but if something unfortunate happens on that property, it is our liability. So we'd like to get this to the people who actually are using it. I'd like to point out that I did notice one discrepancy in here. The actual resolution lists 4 parcels that further review had indicated should not be sold. The list of the actual agenda item is correct, there's 9, but there's 13 in the actual resolution. The one that should not be sold would be Capelpa, adjacent to the Regal Apartments, and the 2 on Anna Street.
What street?
Anna, A-N-N-A. Those are PIN numbers 021, 014, 001, 001. And these are parcels that for some reason we've decided we need to maintain. Another thing I'd like to point out is that any easements that are necessary, we will include in the purchase.
How many are too much?
4 are coming off.
Correct.
Well, what about Anna Street, John?
I'm sorry?
Anna Street?
Right, the 2 on Anna Street,
2,
Okay.
oh, that isn't.
So now you're not gonna be.
adjacent to Regal Apartments.
Okay, let's go, 021,
Correct. Right under it, 014.
014, okay.
And then 001, 2 under that, and then 2 under that, 001 again. I apologize for that confusion, I just noticed it.
001, repeat that again, we've got 2 pages of it.
Repeat it one more time.
It's
John.
in the resolution,
Yeah, it's in the resolution.
not the cover letter.
The cover letter's correct.
Correct.
Cover letter's correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the Regal, okay, there's 3, and the street, okay.
Is it the
that's fine.
same in
It is the
the
same.
one on the tonight?
Yes.
So we'll have to amend that
Right.
so that we're not
Right.
conveying those away.
If it wasn't the same, I probably wouldn't even mention it.
Right.
The other thing I would like to point out is that prior to actually completing any sale or recommending to you the approval of any sale, all involved departments will again get one more email, final last chance to say, you know, engineering, is there something here we should know about? These were first reviewed in 2016, and they were again reviewed just recently in preparation for this presentation. But there's going to be one more check, because once it's gone, it's gone.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this will go on to the consent agenda. Opiate litigation.
On January 8th, you'll recall that 2 attorneys made a presentation before council. One was from Summer Schwartz and the other was from Goodman Acker. I think it was at their request. I don't think council had asked necessarily that this matter be brought up, but they came in and made a presentation regarding potentially joining some litigation that they have undertaken relative to the opioid crisis. And if the city were experiencing any economic damages, excessive, maybe out of the ordinary because of the crisis, that, you know, potentially joining their litigation, maybe the city could recover some of those. So after that, I think the council determined to just kind of refer it back to the city attorney's office, see what kind of recommendation there would be. As a result, I talked to Captain Medici over in the fire department. She was able to confirm, without doing a ton of research, but that yes, of course, overdoses have increased. So therefore, their runs reflect that. They're going to more of those type of incidents. The only thing she wouldn't, again, without doing some research, and I kind of wanted to see where council is on this, she wasn't able to really say how much of an increase we've seen in costs, because, you know, again, remember, they get reimbursed by insurance companies for a lot of their runs, either could be a private or a public type of insurance. So, so she could say in general, yes, and the police department as well, because whenever there's an overdose situation, the police department also will always respond. So you could have situations where, in general, we would say we would be experiencing additional costs, but we, at this juncture, haven't been able to really quantify, put a reasonable estimate on that. if council is interested, obviously the fire department would be more than willing to do that. But in reviewing this, I felt it was, you had two attorneys that came in and solicited. We haven't put that out to any kind of public invitation, because there are, as they indicated themselves, there's other attorneys, a lot of attorneys pursuing this type of litigation. They are but one firm. And so I thought, if we're going to do this, if council is interested, number one, what type of damages do we have? And if we could sustain a claim for those damages, maybe work with Nikki in purchasing and put out an RFQ, ask for qualifications, because again, I've seen a lot of different litigation that is out there, and there are a whole lot of attorneys performing this work, and then come back to council with some kind of recommendation, rather than have two attorneys that just happen to come in here, solicit the council, and then we just jump in and say, yes, we'll use you. I don't think that's a fair process publicly, that, in a public forum, council should put that out and get all kinds of firms to jump in, and then you would make a decision. So I guess that's what I'm looking for, some direction. If council wants us to pursue that, we're happy to do that. I'll work with Nikki Lumpkin in purchasing. We'll get an RFQ out there, and then we'll come back to council. We'll get the responses. We'll look through those, make some type of recommendation to council, and we can move forward on that basis. Now, certainly the two attorneys that came that evening would be more than free to respond to the RFQ, and maybe they would be the select attorneys. I don't know. But I just think the process should be on a much more an outreach basis than just two people that happen to come in here and solicit for that. So that would be my recommendation, and if that's a direction that council's interested in pursuing, then that's what we would do.
Mr. Fracassi?
Yeah, there was an article, I think I showed you, that they were gonna move quickly on this item, and I guess why I raised that after looking at the Wall Street Journal is that how much time do we have to get aboard? In other words, if they're going to move quickly on this, what is the time frame to get on board as with legal, or just stay back and wait and see what happens?
Oakland County filed not that long ago, so people are coming in all the time. They're still soliciting other cities, and you're right in one sense. I think the litigations that were filed maybe last year, you could argue we're behind. But I'll tell you what, in some sense, they can do a lot of the discovery work, will be in some sense a little bit more, because some of it's all going to be the same type of discovery. These the complaints that I've seen they mirror each other. So a lot of these issues are going to get maybe resolved by motions. If we come in, when we come in, there might be some decisions in some cases that will actually assist us in our case. So I don't think we're negatively affected at this point, but I think that, and even if we are late, which I don't personally think we are, because there's a lot of cities still contemplating this, I think that we can try to move relatively quickly to put out an RFQ and try to get it on track. But
what do we talk about as time?
Well, I think generally
4 to
Nikki would
6
say,
weeks.
yeah, I would think, we'll get something together, she's gonna put it on the street. You need to have a fair amount of time for that to be responded
I go
to.
along with
To get the guidance on
recommendation.
procedures,
I
Right.
go along with the
Right.
recommendation.
being able to articulate your damages.
What our damages are.
Right, it's got it.
Because as I think I indicated that night, and anybody that, if you've ever gotten notices from different credit card companies or whatever saying, oh, there's this class action, and and you're gonna, if you want to opt in, you can opt in, and at the end of it, the lawyers make a lot of money. There's no question. They get a lot of money, and every person in the litigation gets a check for $10 or a credit against a future purchase. Generally, that's why I think lawyers solicit these type of cases, because they do very well in this, but that bottom line recovery, and I don't know if we have significant damages here. I suspect we clearly have some. That doesn't surprise me at all. But do we, I hate to see us go in this and think, we're going to get in here and we're going to, there's going to be a windfall and the city's going to recover a lot. Generally, you just don't see that on these class actions.
I was just surprised to see that there was an article
Sure.
in the Wall Street Journal that this was moving quick.
It is, there's a
Courts.
lot of cases out there, and they have consolidated, as he indicated, they're consolidating them all as they're filed, so.
Ms. Marsh?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the RFQ process, but I don't think we should do it prior to understanding what our actual interests are. So if possibly, because how would we know how to evaluate the RFQ? We don't know what our interests would be. So can we have the fire department put together some kind of?
If that's what, if you'd like to, because that'll be some, research they're gonna have to
That'll
take.
give you very direct.
Right.
I think we discussed
Right.
it. A lot of our property crimes, we may be associated with this, and we'll never be able to directly
Right,
connect that.
right. But
What we
I'm,
will be able to do is get ambulance runs and,
police runs,
you know, that
right,
type of
right.
thing.
Yeah, but we
Right.
should have some kind of document to at least set forth.
So I could
before the council
definitely work
before-
with them, try to get that moving in the next couple weeks, that indicate to them that you'd like to see that
And
data.
even if we could incorporate the police department.
Absolutely,
What could
right,
our
Right.
results be as participating in this type of
Right.
litigation? I think that would help.
okay.
I would think that if there's anything quantifiable that can be associated with it, that there's a cost associated with it, whether or not even it's a lost opportunity cost.
Oh, sure.
Whereas the person is there,
Sure.
they should be over here, those kind of things, so
Sure.
perhaps that should be there. Mr. Mandelbaum asked me to recognize an individual that can provide us info on this. So, my note indicated there's no solicitation here, this is just informed.
More informational basis.
Okay, only 2 to 3 minutes.
That's
Okay, caller.
This is Southfield Attorney Leslie Cohn.
Yes, me.
So if you can just come to the podium.
Sure.
Name, business address, and
This is for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Okay.
Did they give you enough time?
Plenty, I'll just talk really fast.
Okay.
First of all, it's an honor to be present here today. I grew up in Southfield, went to Stevenson, graduated from Southfield in 1975. I am a plaintiff lawyer. I agree with you, Sue Board, 100%. Let me explain what that lawsuit would entail. The parties would be the drug manufacturers, the opiate drug manufacturers, that would include Purdue, Janssen, Endo, Cephalon, Insidious, INSYE, and Mackin, M-A-L-L-I-C-K, R-O-E-T. It would also include as party defendants the wholesalers, the wholesalers, alleging recklessness, negligence, and that would be McKesson, Cardinal Health, Amerisource, Belgian, which are the major distributors, and against the doctors and the pharmacies. Sue, you're right, there are cities that have filed suit. There's a lot going on in parallel suits. There's that multi-district litigation that's pending in the U.S. District Court in Ohio. Oakland County has filed suit, Wayne County has filed suit in the same lawsuit. The complaints for municipalities could follow the models set by Cincinnati and Dayton. Those municipalities have not relied on Cuyahoga County suit to protect them because there are different exposures to municipalities as opposed to the county. So we could look to the Cincinnati-Dayton lawsuits. The damages that the city of Southfield could seek would be increased law enforcement costs, increased judicial expenditures, cases brought in front of the judges, increased jail and public works expenditures, increased substance abuse and treatment expenses, increased EMS expenses, lost, as you indicated, Council, lost economic opportunity, and payment of the cost of the litigation and attorney fees. The theories that would be, the theories of liability would include the violation of the Michigan Consumer Protection Act, a public nuisance theory, interfering with the health of the community, a negligence theory, unjust enrichment, and RICO. So all those theories of liability would be included, and I already indicated what the damages would be. I agree that it should be open to the process, and that it should be up to this panel to decide whether to proceed, and if so, what law firm to hire. And with regard to the class action, how much money goes to each particular member of a class and how much goes to the attorneys, it would be a little bit different here. The lawyer would only get paid if the lawyer won, and there'd be specific damages that could not be compromised. In other words, it wouldn't be a small payout to the city. The city would receive reimbursement for what it spent. The multi-district litigation was filed in 2017, and the Oakland County and Wayne County cases were consolidated and filed in October of 2017. I don't know to what extent discovery has been pursued, but there's been a lot of discovery already pursued and accomplished in the multi-district litigation pending in the state of Ohio.
Thank you. Thank you. That added a bit more information to the subject. And Ms. Ward, I guess they instructed the
Yes.
pulling more info and present it.
Yes.
Item number 5, decommissioned electrical service at J.C. Penney.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. At the January 24th Northland Steering Committee, we had a proposal from DTE, the amount not to exceed $30,000 for the purposes of decommissioning the J.C. Penney building. Tonight, Gary Trussell from HRC is here to speak to this item. This is part of the ongoing efforts to continue demolition activities at the Northland Mall site.
In accordance with the mayor's request at the executive committee, we recognized that J.C. Penney had to be disconnected from DTE while we were trying to pursue the Firestone disconnection. The Firestone disconnection was just recently authorized. It cost about $72,000 to get the circuits turned off and the building decommissioned. So the mayor asked, well, if we're going to shut down the power once, why don't we both do Penney's and Firestone at the same time? We then issued a request to the Detroit Edison people to say, well, can you do these simultaneously, and what would the cost be? And if they do them both at the same time, the cost is around $30,000. And so it's a savings of about $40,000 if we did them independent of each other. And so you understand what that effort is that in that area, all the buildings are connected to 2 different substations. So they have to put everybody on one substation while they shut one down and disconnect that side of each building. Then they have to flip them over and disconnect the other side. That's the real expense, is they gotta go to all those businesses down there and flip them from side to side and then disconnect whatever buildings we want disconnected while it's shut down. So we would recommend that if it's within the budget that this be done simultaneously with Firestone.
Council?
The administrator, the general fund support services account, that is different than the budget for the Northland?
That is the account that the Northland items are coming out of. The Northland project account is a subsidiary of this account. All activities that we've done are taken with Northland and then to this.
Is it part of the 20 million?
Yes, or the 20 and a quarter million. Yeah.
What's a quarter? It used to be 20 million, like our budget.
Right,
for the-
yeah.
You know,
Same account number we charged all the activities to,
I know that we, as the steering committee, we send this to council for approval. That is, when we go through the budget going to the steering committee, I just like to make sure that the money is deducted from Northland and it doesn't find its way into other funds.
Ms. Taylor?
I have a question. The address, I noticed on our paperwork, it says Greenfield, 21500 Greenfield, but on the paperwork on yours, it says Northwestern, 21500 Northwestern. So I don't know which one is correct. I believe it's Greenfield. So I think
Greenfield address, if I may, is the Firestone's address, and the,
21500,
no, the 21151 Greenfield.
but that's not what we're referencing.
Yeah, the 21500 is the general mall address,
Okay.
and then everybody in there has a store number that their mail comes to.
Okay, so we should be consistent in whatever, because we're saying 21500 Greenfield, and in the paperwork that we're seeing from OHM, it's 21500 Northwestern. But one other question I asked is on the notes. Could you explain that last paragraph for me, please? It said, it's talking about equipment, and, well, it's also saying, are we paying the full payment to upfront? We don't do like half and that kind of thing like we mostly do. We're paying the full amount.
No, you have to pay the full amount or they won't start the process.
Okay, and then the last paragraph, last sentence here, all equipment beyond the customer's responsibility.
Once they disconnect the power from the primary switch,
Uh-huh.
okay, everything from there on will be part of the demolition of the building, okay, and when it goes forward. So Edison brings power to a transformer,
Okay,
or to a primary switch and then to a transformer.
okay,
That's where they stop. Anything, including the transformer on, is owned by whoever owns that building, which is now the city. Okay, the difference in the pennies is they have a freestanding DTE service, as did Firestone and Target. Okay, so that's why those have to be decommissioned by Detroit Edison. The mall itself is run out of the powerhouse, okay, and there's what's called a Rider 4 resale, okay, where the mall made money on reselling electric. We can go over in that powerhouse and we can shut all the power down to the mall and not have to go back to Edison again to shut anything down. You control that.
okay, so that becomes our responsibility, any cost or anything to remove that at a later date, is that what you're saying?
Well, there's no plan at this time that I know of to shut the incoming power to the boiler house down. There may be a thought process of, it might be a revenue stream in the future if it can be worked out for the city to resell power to the ultimate users. In a mall of this size, the revenue would be approximately about $1.5 million to $2 million a year, just by having the electric go through your transformers.
Okay, so you're not, but it's saying that you're not removing any underground cable or
We are-
anything?
we
You're
are
not
not.
removing nothing?
We're not doing anything to Detroit Edison except what Edison is pulling out of their conduits to get back into their manholes out in the streets.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Morris?
Just a quick question, the initial paragraph says this letters in reply to your request for an estimated cost, but down at the bottom it says this is the total cost. So I didn't know if there would be any potential for the cost to be.
the check to actually be cut would be the
So that's a,
$29,685.
okay.
We just rounded it up.
Okay.
And the DTE, they're one of the few entities where we pay up front. Usually work like this will be done by contractor, then we bill unit pricing. With DTE, they're really the only game in town. We sat down and had 2 meetings with them on the prices, and that the check will actually be cut for that 29 figure.
680.
Mr. Nunde?
So, you just mentioned something, so DTE is gonna be taking out their cable to the mall. What would happen if the mall we decide that that part of the building we're keeping, we can still supply power through the power plant, or do we then have to reconnect everything through that conduit?
Currently, the mall itself is still connected through the powerhouse, and switches have been turned off to reduce your carrying charge.
Right.
Okay, what we're talking about here is JCPenney,
Right.
Firestone, and Target.
Correct.
Okay, they have their own services. Okay, there's nothing that DTE's gonna do to the powerhouse supply as a part of this or anything else, okay?
Right, so Target and Firestone are being demolished. JCPenney, as far as I know, is still standing. We're not taking it down yet. We haven't made that decision. So by removing the service to Penny's, if we decide that we want to keep that building up, or we find someone who wants to reuse it for whatever reason, will we then have to pay DTE to put the conduits back to that specific building?
Well, if you're going to run what they call a Rider 4 company, electrical sale company, then you would want to hook that building back into your supply instead of into
Then let
DTE's
them be our
supply.
customer?
That would be your customer then, and every kilowatt they use, you would make about 3.5 cents a kilowatt.
And with the current setup, that's possible, hooking that system up.
We anticipate that that is ultimately part of our pro forma. And in excess of 7 figures a year.
Okay. Thank you.
If nothing else from council, we'll move to the consent agenda. Next item is the Northland subsurface space.
Mr. President, and to the council, we're requesting expenditure about not to exceed $28,000 to have OHM do some additional subsurface investigation. The JCPenney's, which we just discussed, has no tunnels on it. Now we're looking at the mall itself, as well as the other 5 buildings that were originally framed the mall. Red Roundabout is here to answer any questions on this, but as we go through our due diligence, I think it's common knowledge that our objective is to save as much of the underground as possible, thus reducing the city's demolition cost, providing it does not impair our ability for the marketplace to develop the site. What is here to speak to?
Ray, could you just give your name and?
This was also approved at the January 24th Northland Steering Committee meeting to move forward to City Council.
Good evening, Rick Ronevelt with OHM Advisors. OHM helped the city with the vision plan, trying to reimagine what might happen with the Northland property. We had also teamed up with several team members. One of them was a firm named RTKL, as an architectural engineering outfit that has done a lot of international redevelopment projects. The committee has been, I think, wrestling with a big upcoming decision about what to trigger as far as demolition of the property, and a lot of discussions about what may be feasible or not feasible for uses in what's referred to as the subterranean space, everything underground. There's tunnels that are being referred to, and also a large network of storage rooms. I'm sure many of the council and everyone has had an opportunity to kind of explore or see some of that firsthand. The vision document contemplated removing everything, and so this would be to try to do some follow-up analysis and see if demolition was only done maybe to the ground level and that subterranean space was kept, how you might be able to make use of it, and how any of those areas from a building standpoint would impact the vision plan. Does the vision plan still fit? How does it interconnect with the roadways or building paths that would be above the space, or how might it need to be modified? So trying to do it on a, I guess, cost-effective analysis. This certainly isn't to design anything new. It's to try to just come back with some more information to advise the steering committee and council ultimately on next steps for demolition.
Council, Mr. Fakasi.
Does that include the lower level of the Macy building as well? In other words, when you're talking the surface, you're going under the, you're skinning off the Macy building. In other words, what I really get is kind of like a thought of keeping the Macy building and not keeping it. And I'm wondering, what does this look at clearing all the buildings off and giving you a complete surface. Is that where you're gonna be heading with that, or are you gonna go through everything but Macy's, which,
This would consider all of the underground space. There was a side task done after the vision document to explore the possibility of improving the Macy's structure itself, and some ideas that was presented to council last summer, some ideas about how that could be preserved, the whole structure of the Macy's building, for repurposing those 5 floors. This evaluation is very specific just to the underground space, mapping it up against the vision plan, and
does
then
that
coming back to
include
say.
under the Macy's building as
Yes.
well?
Yes.
Yes.
What, how does that differ than what HRC did in this last study, which they talked about all the cables and things under the building? And whether or not they're usable, not usable, whatever.
If I may, the report that you saw at the committee meeting is to make it freestanding, including its basement, okay? And make it so it's suitable to be reoccupied, okay? And put dirt against the outside building walls of the Macy's building. So what Red is proposing is something to take the top off, and then once that top floor is there, then all the openings that go through that top floor, like stairwells, pipe runs, all that other stuff will have to be blocked, so dirt can be put on top of it, okay? So it's a totally different study. Our assignment was, can we put dirt against the walls of the Macy's?
Yeah.
And will it stand up and that type of stuff, and that's not what he's gonna look at. He's gonna look at scraping the building first
I
floor.
understand that. What I'm trying to say is if I go and I cut all the surface off, where does that hit the Macy building? Is that all at the same level, the lower level?
It is.
In other words, if you cut the Macy building down to ground level, it's all the same?
If you are, if the decision is to tear that down, it will all be down the same level. You can leave all of that conduit, see what we can build on top of it. You can underground all your fiber.
I didn't see it opposed to it all, just clear the sucker up and get it all out of there and fill it. So, kind of outspoken on that. But I guess the voice of the steering committee was to go ahead with it, so. One of these days my vote will count.
Just a real quick question. In the first paragraph, it was stating that the redevelopment vision plan was considering the reuse of this space. However, it was recommended that they abandon the space. Who made the recommendation? Why? That's all I'm asking.
So that vision process involved leaders in the community, public, adjacent stakeholders, and the consultant team. And so part of that process, we looked at some ideas of how they might be able to be reused. Could we daylight some of the space to the surface? Could we turn them into waterways? And through, at that point in time, through that visioning process, the conclusion came that there really wasn't any immediate viable use. It was going to really have an impact on how everything had laid out overall. A lot of the discussion since that vision plan was adopted has still been a lot of momentum to try and see, can they be saved? So it's kind of, I guess, second guessing, and particularly in light of the projected demolition costs, removal costs. And there's been some entities that approach the city with some interest in how they might be able to utilize the space. So it's kind of going back and revisiting some of those assumptions.
So you're going to take some of the same ideas that was presented from there and
If I may, the concept plan, the same exterior schedule beyond the buildings, and the original mall itself was a new urbanism development. You had the Macy's building with the 5 boxes around it, cars circulated around that, people walked to and from, and what we're really looking at is how much of those original foundations and underground can we salvage. The more we can salvage, the less cost we have. And as our medical looks at this, as we go through this, we may very well present a design that says, hey, these other 5 boxes, these foundations are solid. They were, one of the things we know about this site, it was incredibly overbuilt. I mean, we've heard it's this fallout shelter, this concrete, everything is far deeper and thicker than it needed to be. It's reinforced with steel. The more of that we can save, you're talking about cutting your demolition costs substantially.
And if we were to present this to the medical REIT that's looking at this, the same time, your street configuration is gonna change. But for the first 25 years of this mall, people drove, walked around there, and all of those other things happened on a daily basis. So why can't it happen again?
Right, and I understand that, and that's what I'm thinking we did the first time, so that's what I'm saying, who said not to use the space?
Well, I think as we went through the vision process, it was a standard planning process, think a clean slate. The original process did not even originally contemplate keeping the Hudson's building until we challenged that. And part of the process was everyone went through, and I think this is consistent with the original vision process, because I don't think anyone really sees the original vision process having all the streets as laid out. I mean, it's a conceptual design.
Okay, is that, Mr. Costa?
Yeah, I haven't thought about it until just now, but we have pumping stations, 6, I believe, that pump water out of the tunnels.
13.
Pardon?
There's 13 substations,
13?
6 pump stations.
If this is skinned, there should be maybe possible some fractions in what contractors did. You'll have water in the tunnels, possibly. You have water now and it's pumped out, right?
That's correct, but if the decision is made to scrape the buildings down to the first floor level, then all those openings that go through that first floor will be permanently sealed and water.
Is there enough tiles down there to take care of the groundwater?
There are tiles down there to take care of the
So we
groundwater.
wouldn't need to keep the pumps going there.
That's how those tiles work, is they're below the outlet of the sewer. So they're pumped up to the sewer elevation. And the bigger issue I see is the penetrations through the existing floors, for the stairwells to go down to the lower level, and for the freight elevators to bring the freight up, and all the plumbing and all the IT connections and everything has been drilled through the floor. And we gotta go and plug those if the decision is to scrape it and leave it as it is. We just need to make sure it's watertight, so you're not constantly battling dripping water and all the issues that go with that down in the tunnels.
You're saying, Gary, that when you scrape it, you're going over the openings
We'll go over the openings and then we'll cap the openings with concrete
at that same time?
at that same time. That'll be part of the demolition process.
How many pumps would be needed after you scrape it?
Oh, I would think it's probably gonna be less than 6, but I can't tell you exactly.
Or those pumps will then have to still be active?
Correct.
Mr. Mandelbaum?
Thank you.
I'm looking at this proposal, it talks about the meetings. So there's going to be 2 meetings. One is a conference call with the city to review options from work step 1. And then number 2 is an in-person meeting to review the final preferred option from work step 2. So I guess my question is, the conference call with the city to review the options from work step 1 in order to get to work step 2, is that not coming to the council, or is that going to administration? Is that going to the Northland Subcommittee? Where's that? Who's making those decisions?
I guess I envisioned it would probably be with the staff that would be leading it, and maybe potentially members of the steering committee. I guess I would ultimately leave that decision up to Mr. Zorn, Mr. Sevis, and PDA. The RTKL consultants are out of town, and so we just were trying to define how many in-base meetings with them, because there's some travel time. And so we figured we could handle the initial expectations of the outcomes with a conference call. As part of the technical details, the team has talked about the site quite a bit. There's a lot of common knowledge and understanding from prior discussions.
Okay, because I would say this goes back to what Councilman Taylor was mentioned earlier. You know, when you have questions of who's making some of the decisions, I think that in order to proceed to work step 2, my feeling is that should come to the council rather than to the administration, just because we're ultimately going to be the ones responsible for what happens in Northland. Obviously with the help of administration, but I think that the council should have some say in how we move forward with, I guess, the more detailed diagrams and revisions and plans and everything else, unless, let me know if I'm not,
I'm not in disagreement. The dynamic you're missing is the Northland Steering Committee is an intense monthly meeting that is 4 to 5 hours long and covers a lot of detail. And before every one of those meetings, there's usually 2 to 3 other meetings with everyone presenting. And weekly, we get weekly updates from the brokers. We get frequent conversations, a weekly update where we're at with the asbestos removal. There's a lot happening, and this becomes about the amount of time council's willing to, just council's resources from time. I'm just gonna bring that up. I mean, that's why we have the steering committee, and we do have, and all recommendations come back to the council. So I just, from a time management perspective.
right, I mean, maybe I'm not reading this correctly, but it looks like it's gonna be the decision, the final decision, yes or no, is gonna come to council rather than here are the 2 options,
Well, we
which
can
way do you wanna go?
Certainly bring the options to council, and I think a lot of the options will be driven as we go through here, the marketplace analysis. We have had, in the month of January, the marketplace interest in this has been 4-fold that we had in the first 3 months. I think they said we had over 1,100 people look at our materials and download pieces. You've got a lot of people across the country looking at this piece of property.
So,
And if I may, what we're trying to salvage is, there's been discussions about the geothermal, the underground. You heard today the electrical resale, that we're trying to salvage as much as these things so that there are other residual incomes coming back to the city. If we're fortunate on the electrical, and all that electrical happens underground, we don't have to put new conduits in, that's a capital expenditure we won't have. So we'll be able to resell that electricity, and the city will get not just property taxes, but they'll get a cut on that.
And also, I think, I agree with you, that council should be represented at all steps of this, but we have some very vocal people in that session, Mr. Ficasi, Mr. Frazier, and I think we will be well represented with respect to the decision-making process. But the whole process of checks and balances, I will assure too that nothing is going forward. But we have 3 representatives on there to make sure council will be informed, and there's no jumping over a law or a degree of responsibility or authority. I feel comfortable with that, and but thank you for bringing that up. That's very critical. And Ms. Marsh.
I know that the tunnels were included in the Amazon proposal, but I was just wondering if there were also potential suggestions made for the use of the tunnel in that proposal. I don't recall.
There were some, but there are other uses. It was discussed at our last meeting. One of our, I'll use the term bail positions, if the marketplace doesn't look at what we're looking at, we have seen enough interest in the marketplace for R&D space. That's at 20, 30, where there's 30%, 40% off. I think they're doing. And a lot of what you have happening underground there could be made this space available to a company doing and developing prototype design. It could be cold storage, Iron Mountain. Look, just think of the proliferation of what we've had in the mini storage industry. That you could have all of that activity happening. But I think the key thing is we want to preserve access, be able to get as much of our utility, fiber, telecommunications, electrical, other items to it. At the same time, I'm really hoping reduce that demolition cost.
No other, Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, I just want to maybe clear the air a little bit. As far as the steering committee is concerned, the only decisions that we make are to recommend to the council. We decide to recommend to the council. We don't make final decisions at that committee.
All right, just we'll move on to consent. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
We have the next item. Madam Attorney, you want to address that?
Yeah, it's on the agenda, but I'd like to give you kind of a heads up of what the issue is, but I'm probably gonna ask that it be postponed, not necessarily formally, but till next Monday. Here's what the issue is. The HR department was notified toward the end of December from Aetna, who carries and handles the vision insurance for city employees, that they were no longer going to provide that insurance to us. And so HR worked with our outside benefits consultant to try to come up with some other options. Some of those have been explored. In the meantime, Aetna indicated initially, we're not providing the service past February 1. So that gave us less than 6 weeks to try to figure out what to do, so that as of the date that coverage was no longer effective, there was something in its place. Subsequently, we did ask for Aetna to give us an extension, because there just wasn't time to really put something in place, and they gave us till March 1st. Again, not all that helpful. So in the meantime, HR's been working with the outside consultants. A plan was developed, and here's where the real rub came. We thought what we could do with some outside companies like Blue Cross, who offers vision and so forth, we could come up with a plan and potentially try to customize that plan to be more similar to what we have now. The problem is what we have now with Aetna, there is no schedule that they pay pursuant to. You can't look at a schedule and say they pay, $100 for frames and so much for tinting or so much. They don't have that. All their contract says is that they will pay the usual and customary. And so what's happened over the years, and I think there's been a lot of frustration on the city's part anyway, was that depends. So if you went and got your glasses down in potentially Brownstown versus maybe up in Bloomfield, what you would be reimbursed from or paid from Aetna would change, because usual and customary is geographically differentiated. It depended sometimes on the particular customer service rep that handled your claim. So I think there was frustration on the employee's part, on the city's part, I guess potentially on Aetna's part too, because they want to get out of the business. So now the problem is, talking to these other companies, to put a plan in place in this short time frame, they can't talk about customizing it. There's no time for that. So they've said, here's what the plan is that we have. And from Blue Cross's standpoint, they came up with a plan, the best that they could do at this juncture without having a lot of time to work on a customized plan, was $250 for glasses and $250 for contacts. And that really was it. And if we wanted to go with Blue Cross, we had to get a decision by next Monday. That was kind of the drop dead date. Have the mayor and clerk sign that contract right away, so that they would have from, say, next Tuesday till the end of February to get everything in place so that coverage would start on March 1. So HR sent out a notice to the unions, because of course a vision plan is something that we need to talk to the unions about. We can't just say, guess what, here it is. We need to negotiate with them. And there was a meeting, they came back in Friday, and I think there's the general theme is what you're offering us is not what we had. It's going to be lesser of a benefit, and we have a problem with that. So what we've done in the meantime to try to figure this out and give us some time to figure this out is we've asked Aetna for another extension. And we've asked for 6 months, because honestly, I think that would be a more appropriate time frame to really get a plan, talk to the unions, figure out what we can do. And we have not heard back from Aetna, because we just asked for this really as of Friday after we met with the groups. So we did indicate in the letter to Aetna, we need a response by this Thursday at 5 o'clock, so that we can get an agenda item for you on the 5th on which way we're going to go. what we've explained to everybody is, if Aetna, let's just say Aetna says, we're not granting any more extensions. I mean, you know, February 28th, last day of coverage, we're done. We have to have something in place. I mean, we can't leave employees with no vision. So again, talking, trying to resolve that, but try to get something in place. And so at least alert you to what the issue is. We'll have something for you next Monday, some recommendation, at least as an interim, whether it's an extension with Aetna or whether it's something different. But we'd like to pull it for tonight, not ask for any kind of action by council, and wait and see what we get in terms of the request from Aetna. So that's where we are, but we would not ask for action tonight.
What would be the last date that Aetna will cover?
February 28th is the last date at this time that they will cover, yes.
So something before the 28th, we have to come up with.
Right. We gotta get something.
That the union would like to.
Well, and ideally.
But I mean, what happens if the union doesn't want it? I mean,
Well, they'll grieve it.
What's your alternative?
They'll grieve it, and they'll say you have to bargain over it, and we'll deal with that. And again, we're willing to talk about this thing, we just don't have time. We don't have time to spend time.
Aetna's going out.
Pardon?
Aetna's going out.
Aetna's done.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that in itself.
And that's what we've tried to
In
explain.
itself.
We just gotta get a base plan.
Is either this or nothing.
Right. On March 1st, we want something in place. So that's kind of where we are.
So, also, I did see the plan that the option the city was giving, and it is a very good plan for what we have now without customizing anything. The fact that, you can go to pretty much almost any eye doctor, eyewear place. I mean, Henry Ford Optimize is huge. You go to Target, Costco, you go to pretty much any place and get an eye exam, get glasses, because they discount the glasses and then they cover up to, I don't know if it's 200, 250,
Right.
what the city's plan is. You're pretty much covered for almost a pair of glasses unless you go with some high-end designer. And I think for short term, I think this is actually.
I think where some of the issues, I was trying to hone in on that with I think a lot of the issues are with the contacts. Because if people have been getting the daily disposables, those can be pricey. And if those were being paid, not that in the sense that they all should have been paid 100%, but if they were being paid and now you're down to $250, I think the claim is those are not comparable.
Right, but I think for the time frame we have and what we're offering them, I think, the fact that they don't pay anything for the plan.
Mhm. A couple of the groups do pay
that's
something toward.
That's very minimal.
Yes, it is.
So I think that that's something that is, just an extra benefit
Certainly
for the
those,
employees.
right, those are the
rather than,
discussions we can have and try to come to some resolution. And if we had the 6 months, that would be,
But I think the plan that you've put in front of them, I think, obviously we're not gonna pay, thousands of dollars for contacts or glasses, because that's one of those benefits that's slowly going away. But for what they've chosen, I don't see, maybe with the exception of getting daily contacts, I don't see, for anyone who wears glasses, having much of a personal.
Ms. Morris.
Yeah, when I read over the coverage, it looked like a pretty good plan too, but are you saying that they would have Blue Cross temporarily until negotiations were?
well, that would be, if Aetna says no extension, then we probably would be coming with a Blue Cross plan for the interim.
Okay, for the interim.
To try to fit, and I don't know what's the least amount of time Blue Cross would give us. If it has to be a 1 year or whatever, then it'll be in place for 1 year and we can still talk and see what else is out there. We can do all kinds of things, but at least it would be a plan as of March 1st. So,
Mr. Cruz.
Just so I'm clear on it too now, so what is so is there a fiscal impact to the employees on this hardware, or do we just
generally, the way it is now, usual and customary, the claim is by a lot of employees that they can almost go get almost anything and it's fully paid.
No, I understand. What I'm saying is, what they pay in their healthcare benefits, is this included?
No, this is outside. Most of the groups in the city don't pay anything toward their dental and vision.
That's what I'm-
There are a couple of groups that pay a small amount, probably roughly in the area of 10% of what that monthly cost is.
That's what I'm.
Right.
So
City's
as of
paying-
right now, they're not paying anything into.
Right.
Okay, so this won't change their take-home pay or nothing like this, whether we go to one plan or another?
No, and
It just.
potentially, I guess it depends on where these costs come out, but potentially for those groups that are, if they're paying a percentage, I don't know if there are any of those groups, or if it's a straight dollar amount. But this does not increase that.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's obviously correct.
Seems like that should be easily worked out.
Seems All right, well, we will be taking this off.
Yeah, if we could take it off the agenda for tonight and let you know that we will be back, and just in case, again, if you get some calls, you'll know the issue.
Hold on, do not, one second. Madam Clerk, you have something?
Yeah, Mr. President, we talked last week about the parliamentarian training. The dates that I gave you, I did get a couple additional dates. For Tuesday night, the trainer that we're looking to book is booked out pretty quickly. So we have an April 3rd or April 10th date, which will be a Tuesday night. We're looking at the training maybe commencing at 6 or 5. Depending on your availability. I just wanted to see if with the body, does that Tuesday night work out better so we have more of the whole group for this training opportunity?
Tuesday nights are rough for me.
Rough for you? Okay.
Okay.
What are the two dates?
Well, I have, originally I gave you guys the dates
Third and 10th.
of all of Thursdays in March. Remember last week? And then I want to give another date, which will be the 2 Tuesdays, April 3rd or April 10th. We have to make a decision or she's gonna get booked.
All right. I think this is important. I'd love to have everybody here because this is how we will manage ourselves on a going forward basis. Robert's Rules of Order, and that's what governs our processes here. And I understand Mr. Frazier and Mr. Fracassa want to get a refresher on this, but definitely the younger individuals.
He does.
No, he does. Mr. Frazier needs a refresher. But I do want to get it done. I do want to move it around the
I've been
track.
refreshed.
But if, I'm always in favor of the majority, but if we have to get it done. What does Tuesday look like, April 3rd for? Okay.
Did you sign 10 resolutions?
That is.
All right. Is it you for me?
Depending when the kids are off. April 1st is Easter, and I don't know how much else is on the past.
It's Passover, but it's a day that I can show up.
Okay. April 3. All right. April 3 is 5 p.m.
No, I can't do 5. I can do 6.
Okay, well, April 6. April 3.
All
right, no questions.
It's more interactive, so it just depends.
Now this is
April 3 at 5 o'clock?
6. Okay, this is an educational session, and working through the open meetings law. We will have the meeting, but no discussion of any issues. It's training.
You'll post it as a meeting for training.
Okay.
Not posted as a meeting, it's posted as a
Training.
Okay, all right. So that is done.
April 3rd at 6 p.m.
Yes, okay, we are recessed for a moment here to go out.
Do you have holders for the resolutions?
Okay, we are reconvening in the honesty in this presentation. You have it?
Good. In good shape. Let's roll. Council members, I'm here along with our council president. We're here for the honoring our Southfield Christian School girls track and field team. I'd like to read this resolution, and after I do that, I'd like to come up here, and then I would like to have it go up to meet my colleagues. It says, whereas Southfield Christian School, the ministry of Highland Park Baptist Church in Southfield is a college preparatory PK through 12 educational community committed to pursuing excellence for the glory of God. And whereas Southfield Christian first opened up in 1970, it has since grown to more than 500 students currently enrolled, and representing approximately 40 cities and 100 different churches from the Tri-County area of metropolitan Detroit. Whereas Southfield Christian School has a strong and highly competitive athletic program that includes 15 varsity sports and draws the participation of over 75% of the student body. Whereas Southfield Christian girls, I like to say ladies, track and field team won their first state title in the school's history and the 7th state title for the Southfield Christian School. The ladies track team only has 7 athletes, and the Eagles practice in the school's parking lot because they don't have their own field. It's almost like a movie, you know, when young people come up and get involved in athletics, decided they can do it. They went up there and became state champs. The Lady Eagles have 5 individual state championships that help lead to the overall title and no field events. Junior Chica Mina became the most decorated track athlete in school history, winning the 100-meter, 200-meter, and 400-meter, while also running a lady on the championship 1600-meter relay team, along with senior Rebecca Wilson, junior Shelley Goodson, Kaylin Ray, who won the 300 hurdles. And whereas Southfield Christian beat out Fowler, though 62-52 in the Division IV finals in the Houseman Field in Grand Rapids, besting 56 other teams. And now therefore be resolved that the Mayor and Council of the City of Southfield, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, do hereby recognize and congratulate Head Coach Todd Crouch, Coach Porter, Coach Pitt, and the entire ladies track and field team, including Grace McFerrin, Rebecca Wilson, Grace Sanders, Carolyn Keating, Galen Ray, Chica Mina, and Shelby Goodson on the winning for their first MHSAA Division IV state title. And be further resolved that we, the Mayor and City Council, convey our collective commendation to the Southfield Christian Ladies Track and Field Team, coaches and administrators on winning this impressive state title while achieving yet another state championship for which not only the students and staff of Southfield Christian School can be proud, but also the entire city of Southfield. Could I have the ladies please come forward? Like I said, this is almost like a movie when you see 6 young ladies with competitiveness that they have to go out and seek a championship and go out and beat 56 other teams. I think it's just fantastic, not only for the city of Southfield, Southfield Christian School, but that everyone recognized the feat in which they did. We do not have at Southfield Christian a track, period. These young ladies practice on a parking lot. And if you see all the work that they put in, with their sore feet and all, and accomplished what they did, I'd like to give them a great hand. Let's go. Yeah, I want to have them go up front, and you can give out their certificates. And I think the city clerk has them. But young ladies, why don't you go this way, to my right, this way, to my right, go right up behind them, and everybody greet you. See some of them over here? Come on. You want to take pictures? Come up and take them. That's right. They're all the same. Sure. We'll get to that and go back up. Then you can hit them all. Okay. You're wonderful. I was just asked by one of the participants, are our meetings always this exciting? So the fact that he was excited by the one trip here, that's a good memory I would like for him to carry forward. Okay, we have no appointments. We have no minutes to approve. We are now dealing with the consent agenda items. And the first item on the consent agenda will be authorization to amend the contract with Gulf Transportation Services for the Parks and Recreation Department. And for the individuals at home, our cable department is scrolling these consent agenda items. And I will give some highlights and also the fiscal impact of each item. For more detail, please go on our website, the city website, and the clerk's office, the city council agenda. You will see all the specific details. But
for our camera and individuals here. The first item, the Parks and Recreation Department has traditionally contracted to provide bus transportation service for seasonal and activity camp field trips. At a regular council meeting on June 12, 2017, we awarded the bid for bus transportation services for the Parks and Recreation Summer Camp to Trinity Transportation of Wyandotte, Michigan, for a one-year period. Staff would like to request that council approve a request to amend the current contract to include transportation for the upcoming 2018 winter and spring break camps, and an option to extend that contract to cover 2019 break camps. To date, Trinity has provided consistent, and excellent service. The fiscal impact, staff requires approximately 9 additional buses at the current rate of $293.30 per bus. This will add an additional $2,639 to the original contract. The office is specifically recommending that we amend the contract to include the additional items. Consent agenda item B, the second annual Project Manhood Symposium. Project Manhood and the Southfield chapter of My Brother's Keeper seek to partner with the city of Southfield to sponsor the second annual Youth Symposium on Tuesday, March 27, 2018. The Youth Symposium is similar in purpose to the Youth Conference formerly held in Southfield, and the initial Youth Symposium was a huge success with over 500 participants. In addition to benefiting all attendees, the first annual symposium presented Southfield in a positive light, and even the symposium was pictured in the Southfield Sun as an event for 2017. The fiscal impact, the city is being asked to waive costs for this event. The cost of this event would be included both actual and lost potential revenue due to the pavilion and other rooms not being available for rental on March 27, 2018. Staff anticipate and estimate actual cost of this program at approximately $3,000, with such funding being provided from the account which is already budgeted. Consent agenda item C, request to list non-billable city-owned lots for sale. This particular item was amended in chamber and study session. The individuals who might be following this online, but we removed 4 parcels of land from this particular listing. There are actually 9 parcels, but the attachment lists 13. So I will list out the parcels of land which are being removed. The parcel of land at Catawba Drive, east of Spring Arbor, that is being eliminated from the list. And I best probably just give a number on the next one. It just states adjacent to Regal Apartments on 11 Mile. That particular item number is 762417451014. That item is being eliminated from this list. The next item is west of 17275 Hampton. And I will give the parcel number on that also. 762425130001. The next item is also on Anna Street. The parcel number is 762431104001. The consent item reads as follows. The city of Southfield owns several vacant parcels of property within the city that do not meet current zoning requirements to be used as billable lots and are surplus to the city's current and anticipated needs. As non-buildable lots, these parcels are of no practical value to anyone other than the adjacent property owner. The city assessor's office has identified $1 per square foot as a fair offering price for these properties. The intent of this agenda item is for the city to divest itself of these properties by offering the parcel for sale as split to adjacent and logistically connected property owners. The fiscal impact of selling these properties will be positive in that the sale will generate revenue and that parcel will be returned to the tax roll by minimum, but minimal as the parcels are small and undeveloped. There will also be a reduction in potential maintenance costs and the elimination of possible premises liability. Consider agenda item D, decommission of electrical services at the J.C. Bennett building at 21500 Greenfield Road. Prior to the expected demolition of the J.C. Bennett building, scheduled for 2018, it is necessary to have DTE Energy decommission all of the electrical services associated with the building. DTE will remove electrical services and utilities that presently service the site, including removing joints and 300-foot cable, cleaning and abating one manhole and dismantling branch joints. As of January 24, 2018, meeting at the January 24, 2018 meeting, the Northland Steering Committee recommended moving this request forward to the council for approval. The fiscal impact will DTE estimate their fee not to exceed $30,000. Funds are provided in the general fund support services account, which incorporates all the expenses associated with the Northland redevelopment. It is recommended, therefore, that we respectfully request council to adopt the resolution to approve funding, allowing DTE Energy to decommission all electrical services.
Mr. President?
Well, we have one more item. Consent agenda item E. Northland Surface Space Study. As the process of demolishing the balance of the mall moves forward, there's a need to determine if the subsurface space can be utilized or the development can occur should the walls and structures remain underground. OHM Advisors, which is our consultant for this project, has been asked to explore the suitability of these sites. The study will address areas that include the following: potential use of the space, practical and technical issues, waterproofing, structure costs, etc. A master plan revision required due to the configuration of the space. As of January 24, at the January 24, 2018 meeting, the Northland Steering Committee recommended moving this request forward to the council for approval. The fiscal impact, OHM has estimated their fee to not to exceed $28,000. Funds are provided in the general fund support account, which incorporates the redevelopment of Northland. One other item before I close out this, there was an item on the consent agenda which has been removed. That item is item F, the authorization for contract for vision insurance with Blue Cross Blue Shield. That item is quite detailed, but it is being removed from the consent agenda, and I'll invite you to go online under the city clerk site and look up the council agenda to more detail. I will now entertain a motion.
Mr. President, now I would like to move that we approve consent agenda items A, B, C, D, and E.
Support.
Been moved by Mr. Cruz and supported by Mr. Frazier that we approve consent item A through E. Council, where's your, in the discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda items are approved. We will now go into, well, let me just explain to our audience. Typically, I use our tablet to follow through on the agenda, but my tablet has not worked well since the IT people touched it this afternoon. So I love IT people. I just want to say that that's what I we're now going to public hearing.
Thank you, through the chair. We only have one public hearing tonight, and that is PSLU 17-0011, a special use request from Metro City Auto Sales on behalf of the owner, Salama Investment LLC, to establish a used vehicle sales showroom and a lot with a state of Michigan Class B license on property located at 23390. The property is located on Telegraph Road on the east side, just north of McPhee's. These are some of the existing conditions. It's an existing building that has been upgraded in the spring for current auto repair. It's not auto body, it's just mufflers and auto repair facilities. The interior, they propose to have 6 to 8 cars for sale by appointment only. They do most of their sales via the internet. This is their site plan. They have tonight provided a colored version of the site plan for your request. And they did provide this rendering of some of the upgrades that they've done when they moved in last spring. And you can see the before with this older chain link fence that was severely damaged and in disrepair, and they upgraded to a nice ornamental fence. So that's a before and after. They've done some improvements to the existing building, and they've added landscaping in the front and along the parking lot here. And this is a recent photo of the rear of their building. The applicants are here tonight to make a presentation. After the public hearing, I do have a recommended resolution with conditions I'd like to read into the record before we deliberate for your consideration.
Good evening. Good evening.
I'm Salama. I'm the owner of Metro City Auto Sales and the Salama Investment. And that's my brother, Fadi Salama, which is my partner, and my lawyer,
Joe Stewart, attorney and friend, and Frank Solano, my honor is here. Frank Solano, the father, is also here. He doesn't like to get into the public too much. He's a wonderful man. This is a very, very good family. They've purchased this land. They know the auto business. They've been in business before Mr. Solano as a builder. They're very, very reputable people, very proud and happy to be here in Southfield. And I think that you'll be very happy with them here.
For the chair, if I could ask, just to help explain what a Class B license is and the type of additional use that you're proposing, if you could talk about the details of how the sale and how you would contact them, that would be helpful.
Class B, I'm Fadi Salama, and brother Bernard Salama. But a Class B license is only to conduct business with used vehicles, not new, it's pretty much buy and sell, and you can sell to the public. Purchase vehicle through auctions, through other dealers, sales only. We're in the business of, we've had Metro City auto sales since 2008, and we are going on to 10 years right now. What we'd like to do.
What we'd like to do is, to have our dealer license transferred over to the city of Southfield, to our current location, where our plan is to do an online, this is what we've been doing actually in the last couple of years. We do an online sales. We are dealing with a little bit more newer cars, higher end cars, not big value, just 10 cars, 15 cars. This is what we've been dealing with because, the amount of the cars, it gets really costly and we can only afford so much, that we work with. So our idea was, to have our dealer license moved over to the city of Southfield. And we're just gonna make it into like a by appointment type of dealer, because we do mostly online. We do eBay, we do cars for sales, we do Auto Trader. Everything is pretty much online. The people call us, get an appointment, they come and look at the car. A lot of the times also we sell out of the state, which is everything done by emails and eBay, and it's everything guaranteed by eBay. So this is the line of business we want to add to the current location as of right now. We have it's a very big building that we have right now. We're not using the whole building.
We're very fortunate to find this location, and now that we're actually own this thing together, and we're just here to stay. We love Southfield, we love the location. My wife works in Southfield, I work now in Southfield. This is just something that was just a long time ago. It's like a wish come true to us. So this is something we really would love to do here, by not breaking any type of rules or anything like that. We are just here to pretty much, it's a family-owned business, and it's just my brother, me, my mom and dad, and our kids and wives, of course. But then this is
our plan.
And I can just say, there are literally zero walking businesses. As we told you when we had the study group, there's no rules, no flags, no advertising. Cars will not be a car lot. All the cars for sale will essentially be inside in the auto sales showroom, inside. People walking by or driving by will not know cars are being sold. As Flavia and Fernando indicated, they buy the cars mostly at auctions. These are mostly high-end cars. I gave I furnished area and this assistant Kyle some profiles from eBay, and it indicates on the cars that they had feedback on, which was all positive. There was like 16 cars sold in the last month. There were 8 Mercedes, 2 Porsches, 1 Bentley, like we mentioned, a Cadillac, 2 BMWs. And they do have copies of those. I can show you. As Fernando said, probably more than 50% of the sales are through the internet with out-of-state purchasers who don't even come to Michigan to buy them because they're protected by eBay. There's lots of regulations and protection that eBay affords their people who use that service. So a lot of, as I say, there's the only real traffic coming out of there is people package for the car repair businesses that they already have the license for.
Through the chair, I just want you to clarify also between the presentation and now, you have stated that you have an off-site lot that you could store your excess vehicles and then rotate them in on an as-needed basis, so there will be no cars stored in the lot.
That's correct. That's right. We have 15 spaces There's, and they're all newly lined and resealed in the lot. Next, across from the bay, as you first coming off the Telegraph, one is a handicap place and 7 other spaces, and then in the back there's 8 spaces and 1 set aside for snow. So there's a total of about 15 or 16 spaces, way more than indicated. And again, we've discussed that, and they will store their other cars that are for sale that in excess of the 6 or 8 that would be in sales, they would be stored on off-premises lots.
There's nowhere we advertise our address or any source of things, even on our ads, whether it's carforSale.com or, if we indicate anything, we would indicate the city, but that would be it. As far as address and stuff, we just don't do that. Everything that's been, and it's been successful for us, it's been working for us as an internet-based customer, and they could be 2 doors down, or they could be on the other side of the country. But we've had all those type of clienteles, and we're not here to do anything wrong by, we're here to follow ordinance. We're grateful that we got to this level, and we just, again, it's a family-owned business, and there isn't that many out there anymore these days, everything's trustworthy.
Is it? Okay. This is a public hearing. I now open the public hearing. You can take a seat and
Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. I am always in support of small businesses, but I think I need just a bit of clarification for the special use request. Number 1, did I hear you say accurately that this is just to sell between 6 and 8 cars? They will not be sold on the premises at any time, that it would just be by appointment only and via internet? That's the first question. The second question would be the dealer's license being transferred from where? And is it required that a new business license be applied if you're coming to the city of Southfield to have the business? The Class B license, I know that it could be used for used cars, to sell to the public, auctions, dealers, and all of that you said. And you've had it since 2008. But is there a different license required when you say auto care? Because the sign said auto care on the front of it, if I saw that, versus car sales. So I'm just concerned about the special use request and these things that I raised. And then the last thing, when people are selling things via the internet or Craigslist, I know that our police department established, which was a very good idea, an e-zone, I think at the request of Councilman Lloyd Cruz, because a lot of people were attempting to sell merchandise to people via Craigslist, and they were getting robbed and getting assaulted. So we do have a safe zone. Is it possible that these cars could be transported and they pick them up from our, what do you call it, Councilman Cruz? E-zone or safe zone? Yeah, so is it possible that these cars will be transferred and people will make the exchange via our police department parking lot? Those are just some of the concerns that I have, but I am in favor always of small businesses, but as long as it's done proper, it meets the special use request standard, and it's in line with what any other small business person would be allowed or afforded the opportunity to do. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open. Anyone else? Public hearing is now closed. Seeing no one else.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to make a comment. When we were reviewing this in our study room, I was kind of rough with the petitioner. I've been over to their location next to driving back the beach and looking at it. Every time I've been there, it has been clean and very few cars. And I kind of feel differently than I did when I spoke to them because of my concern about what happens to Telegraph Road. But I am in favor of this, and I just want to know that those comments I made were kind of reflective of my thoughts on how Telegraph Road should be maintained and landscaped and built, and I believe that this fits the bill. And I just want to thank you for cleaning it up and making it look attractive.
Mr. Crowe, did you indicate you wanted to?
If I could, I'd like to read my recommended resolution with the conditions before you vote, if that's okay? We are recommending approval of the special use request, subject to the following conditions. Approval of an administrative site plan for the site related to the special use proposal by the planning department. Number 2, banners, balloon structures, portable signs, streamers, flags, or other than United States or states of Michigan designations. Vehicles or persons displaying advertising signage as a means of advertising vehicles for sale on the property is strictly prohibited. All vehicles for sale in accordance with the Class B license shall either be kept indoors in the area noted on the plan or off-site at another lot owned and leased by Metro City Auto Sales. The submitted special use with any conditions recommended by the Planning Department and Planning Commission is to be of such size and character that will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the district. The location, size, intensity, and periods of operation of the proposed use is designed to eliminate any possible nuisance likely to emanate therefrom which might be adverse to occupants of any nearby permitted uses. The proposed use is in accord with the spirit and purpose of the chapter and is not inconsistent with or contrary to the objectives sought to be accomplished by the zoning ordinance and the principles of sound planning. The proposed use is of such character and vehicle traffic generated will not have an adverse effect or be detrimental to the surrounding land uses or adjacent thoroughfares. The proposed use is of such character, intensity, and arranged on the site so as to eliminate any adverse effects resulting from noise, dust, dirt, glare, odor, or fumes. And finally, the proposed use will not be adverse to the promotion of health, safety, and welfare of the community.
Are they in compliance with that, they agree?
Yes. And the one condition that was added from last time is that they keep all the cars for sale inside.
And I was just for clarification again, I believe the last time we talked, you do minor car repairs currently, correct? Yeah. And that won't increase or change based upon this new designation, is that correct? Yes. You won't be doing any more than what you already do? No. Okay. And I too was curious about the licensing piece. Where is the dealers, what you call it, dealer's license? Yes. Where are you transferring it from?
Detroit, it used to be on 8 Mile.
Will you be, just out of curiosity, are you financing your vehicles as you do this thing, or just you gotta pay up?
We did financing at all locations, but we're not, I'm sorry. We did financing at the other location because we were dealing with like older cars. Now we don't do any type of financing.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes, do you have a guesstimate of about how many cars will move through your organization a year? Or a month, you know, kind of what?
It's between about maybe 40 to 60 cars a year.
40 to 60 a year?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I think presently, when I spoke to them last week, they had 6 cars that they owned. Maybe they have a couple more now, I don't know.
Okay.
It's just a little extra to generate a little income as far as what we do, and this is what we do, this is what we've known, and he actually started in this business early 2000, and then when we were fortunate to find the location in Detroit, back in 08, we all got in, we were all, and then now we found this, and it's just a golden opportunity, there's something, finally something we own to ourselves, actually, not lease or anything like that, so.
Well, what happens if this becomes very popular and now you're facing 100 or 500 cars a year?
Then I would have to look at another location.
In Southfield?
That would, if there is one, that would accommodate my volume, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Ready for a motion?
Ready for a motion?
Council ready?
Council President.
Chair, I move PSLU 17-0011, special use request, Metro City Auto Sales.
Okay.
It's been moved by Mr. Fakasi, supported by Ms. Morris, that we approve site plan PSLU 17-, public hearing, PSLU 17-0011. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? It is moved. The public hearing, PSLU 17-001, special use request is approved.
You give me a minute to put this up so it doesn't interrupt your,
Okay, go
your
ahead.
next.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that takes in all of you.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Thank you. While Mr. Crowley is doing that, I will add two names to the communication. Mr. Floyd and Ms. Smith. There are no site plans, and I will repeat that I will be adding Ms. Chanel Gordon and Ms. Brenda Smith to the communications portion. First person up on the communications is Ms. Pamela Gerald. You have 3 minutes.
Dear Brightwell, Myron Frazier, Fred Zorn, and Ken Seibel, who is not here tonight, I have a question that I would like to ask you and maybe get an answer to. Are our employees more important than art? Your lack of respect for their devotion and dedication is deplorable. About 2 years ago, this city came up with an ordinance that would establish the Southfield Arts or Southfield Public Arts Commission, known as the Commission. It's ordinance number 1674, introduced on 3/27/17, enacted on 4/17/17, and was published on 5/4/17. This ordinance basically forces developers to support art according to Ken Seibel. Developers who come to the city of Southfield are mandated to donate 0.5% of the Southfield Arts Commission if their projects range in cost between $1 million to $2.5 million. In addition, these developers are mandated to donate 1% of their project if the cost is over $2.5 million. It should be duly noted that all mandated donations are not to exceed $25,000. Sad to say, art, according to Ken Seibel, does not reflect the makeup of this community, which is predominantly African American. We don't have any African-American art in this city. I went to one of the commission meetings and it's reported that they're gonna do a statue, a bronze something that was done by the man that's got a piece of art down at the African-American Museum. But the reason why I'm asking this question to you guys is you just currently raised the health insurance costs for our employees. Now, you gave them a subpar cost of living increase. You gave them a subpar labor contract, employees, police, and fire. And when you raised the insurance, it didn't even offset the mere donation that you gave them. So why don't you take my recommendation, since you like to, Mr. Brightwell, on behalf of the mayor, do all these Rule 10s, sometimes when they're not even necessary. Why don't we try doing a Rule 10? Come up with an ordinance, hashtag, give our employees a great contract, a good cost of living, and let developers pay into this ordinance that we can do for our employees that would pay their health care costs or any increases. You know, it's time for a change in this city. And we need some people up here on this council that's going to be about our most precious jewel in this city. The residents are at the top of the organizational chart, but the employees make this city hall function. And I beat you to it.
Next person to be recognized is
Thank you.
Gerard Mullins.
Good evening. My name is Gerard Mullen, Southfield Citizens Oversight Committee, Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan 48037. Tonight, I'd like to talk about Section 11.11 in the Southfield City Charter. Section 11.11 is entitled Public Records. This section contains one sentence made up of 8 words, and I quote, "All records of the municipality shall be public," unquote. I'd like to highlight 2 of these 8 words. The first word, all, as in all records, not some records. And secondly, the word shall, as in shall be public, and not may be public. The meaning of these 8 words are clear. This 8-word sentence was part of the original 1958 city charter. 1958, 8 years prior to the 1966 National FOIA law, that is, the Freedom of Information Act, and 18 years prior to the 1976 Michigan FOIA law. The FOIA law was designed to make government more transparent, but this city has perverted the FOIA law by making this city government, less transparent, and in effect nullifying Section 11.11 of the Charter. For example, 60 years later, after Section 11.11 became Charter law, a Southfield citizen today cannot directly get a copy of the minutes of the Northland Steering Committee without a FOIA request, which is time-consuming and costly to the citizen. Why aren't the Northland Steering Committee minutes online, like other committee minutes? What are you folks hiding? Don't you folks believe in the spirit and the letter of Section 11.11 of the city charter? And I quote, all records of the municipality shall be public, unquote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mullin, first.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, council.
Angry? No, I'm not. Anymore.
Could you give your name and address?
I'm sorry, my name is Ronald Pert. I am a resident of the Sapphire Apartments, 16500 North Park Drive, apartment 319. I am not angry anymore. I am offended. Yes, I am. My anger is emotional, as all of us, but we will not be bullied. We are victims of an unfortunate incident. Now, there's understanding that no one came in the middle of this night and snapped a pipe. However, not to have work order after work order acted upon is offensive to us. To be insulted and asked if one wants to be released from a lease because of a penned communication seeking a tenants association. This is not right. All we want to do is make ourselves whole, live up to our contracts, our leases. In all fairness, we've been given shelter in hotels. There are visible improvements. Management has expressed they are working on requisitions and work orders. However, they've been working on the same work orders for the past 2 years, the same ones. However, any observer can see staffing is a problem. However, the priority is communication. It is human nature to want to hear from the top. Where's the transparency? Not the intimidation. To be honest, we are not mad, we're scared. Where do we go from here? At the end of the day, all we have are the emotions. All we want is a clean, safe, and healthy place to live. My pastor's sermon yesterday from Ephesians 14, 10 through 11, identified these 4 R's. My wife told me don't read from the Bible. It's not appropriate at a city council meeting. She's usually right. But we need to recognize, resist, refuse, and respect. We need to recognize this plan from these folks and recognize that the problem, what they want us to do is leave this place. We need to resist this plan. We need to refuse to buckle under this pressure for them to put us out and to be used. We need not to be used to produce this plan, but we need to respect your authority. We need to respect your authority as city council to change what needs to be changed, to amplify the pressure from these people right here, and let these people amplify this pressure to provide the Sapphire North Park Towers as it used to be, and these residents their just due in living and the business space. In conclusion, this is a matter of take public record. Step back, you guys, but if you guys don't want to be seen, I'm going to tell this owner that if you want a dialogue, my name is Ronald Perk. I live in 319. My phone number is 313-318-9131. If you want to talk with me, I'm not here to point fingers. I'm not here to cuss and fuss. I'm not here to holler. I'm here to dialogue with you. I'm here to solve this problem for my neighbors, my elderly neighbors. I'm sorry, I'm finished.
All right, sir.
This is going beyond a point, sir. This is going beyond a point of a building problem. It is not a humanitarian problem. Thank you.
Next individual is Ms. Hilda Estridge. Address the council here, please.
When do the minutes of this meeting become public?
In 5 days, you guys say, okay.
Hello. My name is Hilda Eastridge. I'm resident of 28765 Glasgow, here in this wonderful city for 31 years. I'm here today to talk to you guys something that you have never heard. The Iraqi consulate parking issue, right? None of you have ever heard, right? I'm quite sure. Anyway, I'm here because I did some investigative work, research on my own. After we had a meeting with the mayor, the city attorney, and other representatives of the city last summer, and later on we were told that the city is pretty much useless in terms of working with diplomatic missions, and that because of diplomatic immunity, there are a lot of things that we residents don't know what can and cannot be done. So I went and did my research, okay? And I found out lots of things, but basically the most important ones, the 4 ones that affect us, me and my neighbors, are the following. The property delineated inside the private portion of a diplomatic mission shall not be interfered with. By private portion, it's understood to be the area within the public sidewalks and the walls of the neighbors. Number 2, persons or property outside the diplomatic mission must follow the laws of the land and are subject to charges and prosecution as described by those laws, may be even employees of such diplomatic mission. The rights of private citizens, when a crime, felony, misdemeanor, or civil infraction is committed outside the property of a diplomatic mission, super exceeds the diplomatic immunity. City, state, or federal laws and ordinances must be obeyed by any representation of a diplomatic mission, individual or property, when outside said diplomatic mission. The abuse of the law is rampant. We are tired of enforcing the city ordinances. I am here to ask the city to tell me in an official way that there's nothing else that can be done, so I can proceed with my actions in Washington as I have been instructed to do. The deadline for this semester is the 28th of February, and I'll be filing with the Department of Secretary of State my request for the transfer of the consulate. If the city wants to contribute, it would be wonderful. If not, I would just add that to my petition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next person to be recognized is Ms. Anise Warren. I believe she's not here. The next person to be recognized is Monique Womack.
Good evening, Council. My name is Monique Womack. I reside at the Sapphire North Park Towers, located at 16500 North Park Drive, Southfield, Michigan, 40075. I have 3 things that I would like to discuss. First and foremost, it has been brought to my attention that the owner of our property, Mr. Sean Stafford, is on your board for the DDA, Downtown Development Authority. I want to know, was there any type of background investigation for this gentleman? And how does he still remain on your board? Is it ethically appropriate for him to still remain on this board? And if so, we are asking that he resign. Secondly, I want to speak about the building inspection. We had a private meeting with some legal assistants, and I just want to know how the building inspector ended up at our personal meeting. I don't know who invited him or who told him. But anyway, back to the meeting that we had on January 5th. I think Councilwoman Ms. Morris, you had mentioned of them having some sort of meeting to find out if all of these building codes have been brought up, and if so, and another person, I think it might have been you, Mr. Councilman Fakasi, stating that if these codes have not been brought up, that the building should be condemned. And why is our landlord still bringing in new tenants into this building and it's not being brought up to code? That's not fair to new people coming into our property. And lastly, the patchwork. I went back to my apartment today and I have corrosion on one of my pipes that's leaking. They will not repair this leak. They're talking about putting tape around this. Now, I suffer from bronchitis, so if there's leaks and stuff on the carpet and mold and mildew is building up under this, this would affect my health. Lastly, the freight elevator. Although that's not an issue with the city of Southfield, I communicated this information with Lansing. Lansing states that the company, that the Resco or the Sapphire does not have an elevator registered. You keep getting the runaround. And at some point, we feel like as though you all have some type of connection. If the freight elevator isn't registered, who here can contact the people up in Lansing? You have people who can't even move out if they want to. We should not be forced to move out. And thank you, the garbage is being resolved, but it's still there. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And on behalf of the Sapphire tenants, we just need you all to know that we will be here every week until we get our matters heard. Thank you.
Thank you. The next individual we recognize is Chanel Gordon.
Good evening. I'm also a resident of 16500 North Park Drive, apartment 1015. I just wanted to touch bases. I also connected in regards to the elevator because this is very stressful, and I know that you all may hear stories like this, just as well as I used to hear stories like this as I watch Fox 2 and any other news station, and I flip through and check the channel and say, oh, I feel sorry for that family and say a prayer and I'm on my way. Now that I'm actually living it, it is very stressful. When I go to work in the morning and have to manage a 1,300 room property hotel downtown, my mind is still at home with my 90-year-old grandmother that can barely walk through the living room because her floor is soaking wet. Where she already have a broken hip, and I have to also worry about my sons, which is 10 and 11. We have safety issues as well. When I get off late, just not too long ago, I was addressed by someone that was coming out of a vacant home. We have vacant homes and the doors are just open. Anyone can just go in there and just live in there. So squat is basically that's exactly what it is. So I have to worry about them walking up to me as I'm entering my home. If it's not that, then I'm worried about coming home to scalding hot water. I put in a complaint about scalding hot water. Well, now they said it's fixed. When I come home, I have no hot water. So I can't take a shower, so I have to go to a hotel. This is a very inconvenience. None of my issues are addressed. I saw Sean myself, and he basically told me, I don't care about that. Go to the leasing office. It's just so many issues I can go on and on. By the time I get to the end of that list, it will be time to vote again. The heat issue that they said that they fixed is not fixed. I have no heat in my living room. I have heaters that they passed out a few months back when the heat went out before. My heat only works in my room. I have to have my boys sleep in my room. I'm in the pillow on the floor and they lay in my bed because the heat does not work in the bedroom. The heat is not fixed, although they said it's fixed. I'm at the point when I'm ready to move, but as she stated earlier, I can't. How can I get my furniture? It won't fit on the regular elevator. The freight elevator is not working. Again, I went down today to ask them about the freight elevator. They gave me the runaround. Come back. I keep coming back. It's just a merry-go-round. I get no answer. A lot of my clothes were damaged. I came home, and that's another concern. Every time I come home, I have to worry, is there going to be a leak? Everything, it has been removed. My whole house is just discombobulated. I have things that sitting on my bed, sitting on my boys' bed, sitting on the counters, nothing. I don't want anything on the floor because you don't know what you're going to come home to. And although they're saying that they are addressing the issue, and I know maybe they don't have control over a pipe person, but these are issues that could have been avoided. They always put Band-Aids on the situation. It has not been resolved, and I don't see it being resolved. And now I'm at the point where I'm ready to move, but how can I move? And the freight elevator is not even working. And like I said, it's a safety issue as well. I pay $75 to park underground, and I can't. It doesn't even work. The garage doesn't even work, so we're forcing me to park outside like everyone else, and then you have safety issues there as well.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Burke. We now recognize Ms. Brenda Smith.
Thank you so much for having me. I too am here to address the
Give us
issue.
your address, please.
Oh, my address is, I'm from Sapphire as well, 16500 North Park Drive, apartment 1210. I am a senior citizen with a lot of health issues that may not be apparent by just looking at me. But I am too concerned about the elevators because we have at least one quadriplegic, excuse me for my pronunciation, in the building, numerous senior citizens who are in wheelchairs. And some senior citizens have had to walk from the 19th floor with walkers, from the 16th floor with walkers. I was told I would have to walk from the 12th floor down to the first floor because we had no elevator. In fact, the day that we were asked to leave the building, the elevators had went out earlier that day. And some maintenance man who was not authorized, but I'm thankful that he did get the elevators going, got the elevators enough for us to be evacuated out of the building. Now my question is, it's not just a matter of the elevators with towers, both of our towers are 19 floors high. We have 6 elevators, and at times, none of the elevators work. My question is whether this violates the handicap accessible law, whether it violates the Disabilities Act, and so you have more qualified people to research that out than we do, and certainly any inquiries that we might make to the state regarding the elevator would be more forthcoming to you guys than us. But I'm asking you today to look into whether these are violations of those acts. And if they are, immediately let Mr. Stanford and his investors know that they must immediately make the necessary corrections. Some of us will be leaving. Some of us have been targeted as troublemakers, so our leases have not been renewed. But I'm one of those people, but this situation has set a fire up under me, and I will indeed continue to come before your honorable body, as well as the state and any other agency as is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. That concludes our communication portion for tonight.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Picasso?
Mr. Chairman, I guess I was just wondering, we have heard so much about this, these places, these high-rise facilities, all facilities, and I guess I'd like to know, Fred, can we get an update? We hear the people come up, and I'm sure our staff people are working on it, but we're sitting here hearing these things, but we really don't know what action we have taken to address it, and how long these people are going to have to work with these no elevators and things like that. I mean, I don't know why the health department the county health department isn't, and they're checking this facility out, as they should. And I just like to have an update. And secondly, people on Glasgow, we just approved 3 parking spots on the street and changed the street where you can't park and can park. But, I'm very familiar with the area. I had my business there for years, and my son is 3 doors away from it. But there's cars everywhere, people everywhere, and I don't think they can even understand what those meanings of those signs are. And they just do as they wish to do. And so I agree with them. It's a nuisance to the neighborhood, and it just can't go on. I mean, people have homes and like to go home and relax, same as the people in apartments. But I don't know what to do. I'm not politicking here, I'm just ticked off that people are, you know, coming before us and their way of life has been tampered with because of people who don't know what they're supposed to be doing, meaning the consulate, and how they're supposed to park and where they're supposed to park. And I don't care if they're consulate or anything, they have to abide by our laws. And the people, I'd like to see some kind of update on where we are with these, not only this one, but all these multiples that we have in the city ought to be checked out and make sure that they are what they're supposed to be. You know, in 2003, I brought that before that, you know, my consensus at that time was, you know, if you can't fix it, close them down. I mean, it's not right to have people living in apartments that they can't operate on, or illegally being run, and they're not adhering to some of the things we're asking them to do. So, I don't know, I just feel sorry for these people. I don't know what the answer is, but I know there's something we can do to make sure that, you know, we have 17,000 apartments in the city. And I know it's a big job, but at Eagle Nest, we took care of that by closing them down back in 2003. In fact, I think the mayor was even involved in that at the time. But I just like to see some updates. I'm hoping.
Mark Pilot, with the director of the building department, is here.
I didn't hear you.
Mark Pilot, the director of the building department, is here.
Yeah.
To give us an update on the Sapphire and mostly the latest. There's also been discussions regarding the implementation of an ordinance for rental apartment inspections. Mark can give us the most recent information where we're at in dealing with this property. It has been a very trying 2 weeks. Shutting down a property, there's of course a due process and legal proceedings that must happen. We're documenting those, and Mark can give us the update of where we're at this Sapphire. We can start there.
But if you're in violation of city codes, that's actually, we can take you to court. Right?
If we start with an update.
See, Mark, here earlier, I guess that's why he's here. Go ahead. I don't have the meeting, Mr. Chair, I did it. Mark, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, Honorable Council President and council members, the latest on the Sapphire. We've performed 4 inspections of current units. I spent approximately a total of 16 hours going through the common areas of the building, lower levels, elevators, trash areas, boiler rooms, common areas of the corridors, service elevators. We've noted all of those deficiencies and sent management letters on the deficiencies that we've noted. I have an additional 4 to 5 inspections that I'm trying to get staff to go out on and perform. What we found so far is common maintenance issues that are not being addressed. We will be going out again soon to address the residents' concerns that we have a current list of units that we have to go out. If we come up with the same type of common maintenance issues, we're going to address these with management again. We have met with them once. We will meet with them again to address these issues. I know that they indicated to us in their last meeting that the service elevator was functioning, but it was not functioning. There's trash issues, which I've been pestering with. It appears that those issues have been resolved, or at least they're maintaining the lower level compactor so it doesn't build up in the chutes. Based on what we've seen, there's a lot of maintenance that needs to be done in the building. and they need to probably address each of the units accordingly with a checklist that we will be providing. Any questions?
Well, I have a question, because I'm concerned. I mean, when we met with them, they told us the service elevators were working and that people were not being prohibited from leaving the building. And so that's an issue.
That's an issue because it was not working. We went out the following day, it was not functioning.
Mr. Frazier?
Yeah, when you get into a situation like this, what needs to happen is the problems need to be put in priority. And the one that impacts the most people needs to be dealt with first. So that if it's or the safety of the people needs to be dealt with in the beginning. So that individual apartments, while it's troublesome and I can appreciate the problems that the individuals have, if they can solve the big problems, the water problem, the heat problem that impacts the most people need to be dealt with first. The elevators need to be dealt with. That's a safety issue. I would like to see regular reports, not just a report. I would like to see regular reports on the progress that's being made there. And we're working on an ordinance that will allow us to go into individual apartments to check what's going on there. But I want to, and I know it's not directly your concern, the individuals that came up and spoke, but several years ago, and I think it's when Mr. Fergassi said, we started to address this issue about apartment inspections, not only the common areas, but individual apartment inspections. We had a lot of pushback from apartment dwellers that said, no, we don't want you to do that. So we put it on the side, and now it's coming home to roost because we have an apparent landlord that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we're working as quickly as we can to put an ordinance together that's going to have the law on our side to make these kinds of inspections that will prevent this from happening again. We're in the midst of it. We're with you. We're trying to resolve this, and so we're in the mess with you. We're all trying to fix the problem and fix it so it doesn't happen again. But in the meantime, I'd like to have the council have regular updates on where we're at, what's being fixed, what's left to be fixed. It's like a gigantic punch list, so that we can stay on top of this.
With Sapphire. I think that option is a legitimate request, and we can put it on the agenda every meeting, the Sapphire. As well as maintenance and the improvement there. And the city administrator, when we last met with them, the president invited VP of operations, and we sent a memo to them that we would want to meet again within 3 to 4 weeks, and I think that's coming up. Then those same officers there. And I visited with Mr. Pilot on the 18th, I think we were there. We went through several units that we were invited in for inspection. And this is the way we had to be done at this particular time because of the ordinance, that because of the non-existence of an ordinance. But like it's been stated by several council members here, we're definitely on your side. We want everybody in Southfield to be prosperous, tenants, homeowners, and proprietors to be successful. And with that, I know emotions are involved in these things because we're directly in the storm. But we are clearly 100% on your side for being a happy tenant, a happy resident of Southfield, a pleased resident of Southfield. Well, if there are any more questions,
Mr. Chairman. So is there any kind of a way that we could charge the owners of these buildings a fee, being short of inspectors? And I know they're hard to find.
Well, there is a fee schedule, and so when they make inspections, there should be a fee.
We do
How
have
do you
a special
notify?
inspection fee.
Pardon?
We do have a special inspection fee that.
How do you do that? Is it every time you inspect it, or is it?
Each time it's inspected, there is a fee for a unit. We have that in place. At this point right now, we have a learning curve that we're implementing on what type of inspection, how we're going to do these. So we developed some forms that we're filling out and providing to the owners of, or the tenants of the units and the owners of the complex. So both parties have the same report. And then at that point, it's going to be left up to the management of the apartment complex to address the issues that were discovered during the inspection. This is all brand new. We've given the first round 30 days to address the issues and get back to us on the first round of letters.
I think 30 days is too long.
So, all right, so you're working on it, and good.
Could I add something to that? I'm fairly new to the city of Southfield, and I'm very happy I'm here. I'm from Detroit. I have a lot of housing experience, especially with the building and safety department in Detroit and the planning. And one of the things that Detroit has is they have a wonderful building inspection code program with built-in fines as well. Can I suggest that someone from the city council get their code book and take a look at that and find out how they are able to go into people's houses without problem and find these companies if they do not fix the properties up in that time. It's a bonus for the city of Southfield the same way it is for the city of Detroit. The city of Detroit makes money off of it, and it supports its building and safety program. It allows them to hire more building and safety personnel. So, I mean, you don't have to recreate it. You can just look at their model, and it complies with all of the laws going up to the state of Michigan. So that's just my suggestion too.
Very good suggestion.
Mr. May I ask this? We do, and we have reviewed the Detroit model. The Detroit model, and you and I discussed this earlier, basically every person property, 75,000 units in Detroit, have to register with one of 4 private companies. Your inspections are being done by private companies in compliance with state law, and we are reviewing that as a model.
And our building instructor, the building director, he's familiar with the Detroit model, and I shared some things with him, and as Mr. Zorn indicated, that we are utilizing, let's say, best practices, and that Detroit's definitely looked at because they've been doing this for a while, and they have a process. And we are moving that lighting speed from the standpoint of what we can be done legally and the process of doing it. And then pulling these things together, although we look at best practices, we don't want to do anything that will harm the citizens of Southfield, make us liable for any suits or anything that, so it's going at lightning speed from our vantage point, and we're trying to cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and making sure that these things are impactful when we do roll it out.
May I please ask this? I promise I'll sit down. Did I understand that this inspection report was put in the hands of management to go to the apartments to inspect, and management was to inspect? If so, may I ask that any resident here be part of that team and that effort to assist management because there is a level of distrust. I'm sorry to say that. There's a level of distrust.
Their management team is here.
So any resident here can be part of that team
Okay.
to go there. I'm sorry. I should not.
We will work out all the details of this.
Yes, I'm sorry.
In an open forum, and when our building instructor, director is, and Mr. Zorn has satisfied all the requirements, and our legal department has said all the requirements, there will be an open forum, before everything is approved. With that,
I'm sorry.
I think I know we haven't exhausted everything everybody wants to say, but we do hear you, you heard your counsel, you
Yes, sir.
understand what we're going to do. You're not in a wilderness alone. We're definitely with you, and we are trying to pull all our resources together.
Can we please have our water tested, since they're inspecting the property? I think that water needs to be tested.
Okay. We're going to move on in the agenda.
Mr. President, could you let Mr. Pilot just address the issue of the water? Because again, that is outside the city and they could indicate where that should properly go.
The water is tested from the water department at the source of the building, within the building itself.
The city of Southfield water is tested by SACWA, who we buy our water. If an individual in their private home or their apartment would like to have their water tested, we can refer them to the appropriate people at the county health department to test that water. But we meet, and all of our water is tested by SACWA. We publish a water quality report. It's available online. But if anyone would like to, keep in mind, our water is treated with the phosphate. And if there's any concern about lead, it's that phosphate which seals that lead and stops it from leaching. If you want to get your water tested at the tab, we can refer you to the health department for that referral.
Do you need a number to call the building department number?
I'll take the
I don't know.
Does the city pay for it? Does the city pay for testing the water?
Okay.
No.
All right. Mark, thank you for that. I hope our residents, the ones that are here, realize that this is highly unusual for us to talk back and forth to you, but I've allowed this to go on simply because I understand your situation. I was over there. I went to some of the apartments with Mr. Pilot, and the whole council is sympathetic, and we're trying to do everything we possibly can. This is extremely unusual for us to battle back and forth with you, but I'm doing this simply because we respect you, we respect what you're going through, and we're going to try to fix it as soon as we can. So with that, I'm going to move on to the next item, council portion of the agenda.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to make one brief announcement that there will be an open mic at the library on Friday, February 23rd. It's free and everyone's invited. If you can sing, play an instrument, a poem, if you like to recite. Everyone is looking for, they're looking for talent and they're inviting you to come out. And it's free and it's at the library, our Southfield library. And we call it open mic, February 23rd. Hope you can come out from 6 to 8. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. There was a speaker earlier in the evening who addressed the council about the parking issues with the Iraqi consulate. Just some brief stats that were put together earlier today. From the period of December 15th until yesterday, there were actually 86 parking tickets or citations issued. That included no parking, where there were no parking signs, as well as impeding traffic, illegal turns, as well as blocking sidewalks. I guess in about a month and a half, 86 citations doesn't indicate that there's a problem, but we are monitoring the problem. We are writing citations through code enforcement and the police department, towing cars when necessary. Part of the
unfortunately, it is a problem in any neighborhood that I don't wish on anyone. But one silver lining is that 75 of those citations have been paid in full. So it does help the city with providing some of those extra services and that enforcement. I also